Bishop Gaiters, it's been a sad week in the entertainment world. Very young age, actually. I think younger than both you and I. Chadwick Boseman succumbed to colon cancer. How are you feeling today, Bishop?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jason, by the grace of God. Thank you so much for asking. It's a sad time right now, not just in Hollywood, but all over the world because this brother, Chadwick Boseman, was one of the good guys. But I believe, Jason, through my research, his death is interconnected to the death of Kobe Bryant that we're going to get into this afternoon.
Yeah, it's shocking, Bishop, because I didn't even know those two guys knew each other. I guess they're both celebrities, but I don't automatically, like if some white actor died, I wouldn't automatically assume he's friends with everybody in like hockey or something like that. But it seems like a lot of people in the NBA knew this guy.
He was well liked and well respected, Jason. And he was also a member of Sigma Pi Phi, a Boule.
Oh.
So he was a Boule along with Kobe Bryant. And also Chadwick Boseman had met with Kobe Bryant approximately 4 times from 2018 to December of 2019, because both Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant wanted to leave the industry in order to begin their own studio. And that was a direct threat to the powers that be in Hollywood. So this is going to be a powerful series again concerning Volume 8 of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed.
Now, you just said something that resonates with me, Bishop, because these powerful forces within Hollywood, they don't like it when you challenge their power. And it sometimes seems strange to people, including myself, when we see these sort of things happening. I don't know if I had a chance to share this with you, Bishop, but the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, via their president, has struck Crowdsource the Truth. We are not able to live stream on the 114,000 strong network. Luckily, we do have the Global Spiritual Revolution radio YouTube channel backing us up right now, and we've got over 150 viewers joining us there. If Crowdsource the Truth viewers haven't yet subscribed to the Bishop's YouTube channel, it's a great chance to do that. And people can also support the Bishop's Global Spiritual Revolution by going to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. It's really important for people to support the Bishop and his team at GSRR Media Group, because every week, Bishop, you're coming here, thousands of people watch the show, and it's actually accumulating to tens of thousands. It's a relatively new phenomenon. Even 5 or 10 years ago, you or I would have had to pitch a show. Forget about ABC or NBC. That's
Yes.
almost impossible. But even on cable, you'd have to pitch it. They'd have to like you personally. They'd have to like the way you look, the way you talk. Somebody there would have to think that you are worthy of being on their channel. But instead, Bishop, what you and I have done, and the other co-hosts who join me on Crowdsource the Truth, is that we've built this independent network where the individual viewer sponsors, they get to decide if they like the show, and if they want to sponsor Crowdsource the Truth on Subscribestar or Patreon, or if they want to go to paypal.me, GSRR Media Group, and sponsor you, Bishop. And the thing is, as our show is gaining popularity and as this message is getting out, I don't think these people like that. So
No.
they strike the channel, we can't broadcast, and now they don't even want me talking about the king of television, the president of television. Let's call him Mockingbird Jr., because they don't want me talking about him. But we'll get into that another day, Bishop.
Right.
I know you've prepared a lot of material for us. I also just want to remind people that if they want to hear you on the radio, they can go to liferadionj.com/Gaiters. People in the New York and New Jersey area can tune in on 1460 AM or 92.9 FM, and they can hear the Bishop on Thursdays from 7 to 9, right, Bishop?
Yes, sir. From 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also on the iHeartRadio network in the iHeart Media Group each and every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And you're really gaining traction, Bishop. I understand you've been co-hosting segments on InfoWars and really, expanding the reach of the global spiritual revolution. So I'm delighted to have you back this week and to hear about this part 8 of what's been a fascinating series.
Jason, in the last 48 hours, I've been under attack from witches, from Black Lives Matter. I kid you not, Jason, from both Black Lives Matter and Antifa, because they are so afraid of the bishop, of what I'm exposing. But we know that the word of God says that no weapon that is formed against us shall prosper. So Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed volume 8 in connection to the untimely death of Chadwick Boseman. So we want to pick up where we left off last week through this manipulation of reality, time, and probability. Now, the manipulation of reality that you and I discussed on last week is entitled in the term esokinesis. It is the total manipulation of reality, the manipulation of perceived reality, the manipulation of perceived control, making not just Black Hollywood think that they control their destiny, but any group of people who are in a high financial bracket, like in Hollywood, but in actuality, they are suffering from not just the manipulation of reality, esokinesis, and the manipulation of perceived reality, but also the manipulation of perceived control, which is built upon the foundation, Jason, of the manipulation of manipulation, because it's so layered into what you and I call the compartmentalization of darkness. Now we go into the manipulation of time. Now, you and I are going by both the Julian calendar from 45 BCE, before the common era of Christ, and the Gregorian calendar from the year of 1582 that was created by Pope Gregory XIII, who was a high class member of the Jesuit Secret Society that was birthed in Paris, France in the year of 1540. So then the manipulation of time is a word that you and I call chronokinesis. That comes from the word chronos, or chronology, which is one of the names of the gods in Greek and Cyprian mythology. So the most of the words, the languages, the dialects, and the accents that we're using, not just here in the Western Hemisphere, Jason, but all over the world, 80% of these words are interconnected into some type of mythology, whether it is Greek mythology or Babylonian mythology or Roman mythology or Cyprian or Persian mythology. So then the manipulation of time that you and I had talked about, this term, Horus, right? Or soft Horus, okay? Now, according to Egyptology, Jason, and we're talking about the manipulation of time, there was a high-ranking demon god called Horus. Now, the term Horus is interconnected today as the word hour. So the word hour, capital H-O-U-R, has its root, Jason, in the phrase, in the name Horus. Now, according to Coptic history, Coptic mythology, through what you and I call Egyptology, Horus, who represents the hour, the manipulation of time, has 4 sons in this Coptic mythology. The first son is a man by the name of Siteri. Seti, or Siteri, capital I-M-S-E-T-Y. Seti with the Y silent. that sun represents also an hour. Now, the second sun is Duor Mutif, capital Duamutef, which means half hour. The third sun is a man by the name of Hapi, capital Hapi, which means minute. So that minute, or min, is also one of the names of the gods in Egyptian history or Egyptology. The fourth and the last son of the hour, or Horus, is a man by the name of Kobe Sinuth, capital Quebesenuef, which means second. So then, when we're talking about the manipulation of both reality and now timeology or time, so time is nothing but an illusion, Jason. So then we're going by a Gregorian calendar that is divided into 12 months and a 24-hour protracted period of time. So then this term here, manipulation of time or chronokinesis, it gets deeper. So the four sons of Horus represent hour, half hour, minute, second. Yes, so the names of the extensions of what you and I call time or chronokinesis, it's a fallacy, Jason. So then how do we know that this is 2020? As we're talking about Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed, volume 8. So I'm just laying the foundation. Now, getting back to that word second, for the last son of Horus, Kobe Sinuth, second comes from a Greek word, sexa gesimo, capital Sexagesima. Sexagesimal is a Greek time pattern that is based upon a 60-second and a 60-minute hour. So 60 minutes in an hour, or Horus. We call this sexagesimal or sexagenerate, capital Sexagenary. This, Jason, is the manipulation of time. So whether it is an hour, half hour, minute, or second, those names are named after demons and gods in Egyptian mythology. Now we're coming to the manipulation of probability. Now, before we get into probability, time is nothing but an illusion. Let me give you an example. You say, but Bishop, I will do this tomorrow, Wednesday. When tomorrow, Wednesday comes, I ask you, what is this? You said today. So when we say yes in agreement, today, and forever, as Albert Einstein said, that the past, the present, and the future is nothing but an illusion. So that is the manipulation of time. Also, is connected to the manipulation of matter. Now, some time ago, we talked about Black Lives Matter not being of any manner or significance to the deep state, but in the psyop of the deep state, Black Lives Matter is a piece of a chemical compound that's connected to telekinesis. Well, telekinesis reveals the term television. So we talked about motion pictures, and then the motion of that picture comes in different frames and stages, like television, like the stage, okay, like a still picture. A still picture is still motion, but it's frozen in time through the manipulation of what we call chronokinesis. This is a powerful paradigm, Jason. So then the term here, time. So getting back to Horus, hour, and his four sons of hour, half hour, minute, and second, in connection to the Greek mathematical system called sexagesimal or sexagenera, capital Genary, which is a numerical based system, Jason, what they call a 60-second or a 60-minute based time that's rooted actually in demons, in the names of demons in Egyptian mythology that you and I call also Egyptology. So then telekinesis is also the venue where the Crack News Network, through Don Sweet Tea Lemon and Christopher Fredo Cuomo, and through MSNBC, Rachel Mad Cow Maddow, they, through isokinesis, the manipulation of reality, and chronokinesis, the manipulation of time, is thereby manipulating matter telekinesis through the manipulation of what you and I call a pixel. So then, once we get closer to the truth, then the truth exposes the fallacy of reality, time, and probability. So they've been perpetuating a vaccination. Well, that term vaccinate also means, Jason, to lucificate, or vaccination, lucification, or education, lucification, or vaccine, lucifine, or lucify cinema. So it's based on a Luciferian psyop, as we're just methodically breaking down the foundation in order to build up to both Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman, because they became casualties of this war, Jason, called the manipulation of reality, time, and probability.
Bishop, if I may, I want to share something with you because you just brought up some topics that are sort of in my sphere. The two Frenchmen who invented the movie projector, they called it the cinematograph, and this basically enabled Hollywood and motion picture exhibition. I don't know if you're familiar with these guys, but it's Auguste and Louis Lumiere. And it was always strange to me that their last name, I mean, it basically means illuminate, like light.
Oh,
And obviously their invention uses light to shine through celluloid and project movies. It just always seemed weird to me. And I visited their home in Lyon, France. It's now a museum. And they were obviously super into technology. They had a telephone at the time. I mean, this was invented in 1895 or something like that.
right.
And the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that Don Sweet Tea Lemon is an Emmy award-winning newscaster. So I'm not trying to antagonize the Emmys. They really started in with me by shutting down the channel. But the fact is, I think Don Lemon reports a lot of news that is deflecting us from the truth. And it's interesting that the Emmys and the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences awards guys like this, not necessarily for telling the truth, but for basically giving us the news the way they want it. Interesting, he went to the same college as my parents. The last thing I want to tell you, Bishop, is that the abbreviation for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, NATAS, what is that backwards?
Oh, Satan.
Satan. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Jason, again, you are absolutely blowing my mind again and again and again, because you're teaching me as well, my friend, as we are schematically laying this foundation for Volume 8 of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Thank you so much. Mind blowing and cutting anytime if you see something.
Got to be a coincidence, though, Bishop, because it's got nothing to do with the lawyers for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences that I'm communicating with.
In other words, this is the manipulation of reality time through the prism of probability. Excellent. And jump in anytime, Jason. That's a powerful, powerful impartation or revelation that you just gave concerning the inversion of the term Satan. So then the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. Probability then is a set time, a set system of occurrences and events that are remotely controlled by an outside force. Why? Because the deep state wants to genetically alter both our DNA and our RNA to go from mankind, K-I-N-D, get this, Jason, to mankind, K-I-N-E, which means kinetic or kinesius. So then the manipulation of reality, time, which takes us to probability. So probability is a set created occurrence, a red flag, a false flag, through problem reaction solution, where the outside forces who don't love America will create a catastrophe. George Floyd will create a catastrophe in Wisconsin in order to solicit a reaction from a people who don't know who they are, because we have never dealt with the historical pain and the historical trauma of our past, not just with Black people, any people who are now rioting. So the riots, Jason, is not just the manipulation of their reality, time, and probability, but these riots, Jason, represent the direct result of trauma-based pain. It's rooted in their pain. As we're talking about Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. It comes from the algorithm of deception, which has become matrical. So, and let me give you an example. An algorithm, let's say you have a computer, a desktop, a laptop, a tablet. Then when you type in God in capital letters, Jason, and click the enter button, okay, the algorithm in the software will not keep that word named God all in capital letters. Through spell checking, it condenses God to a small g, a small o, and a small d, which means a demon. Now, the opposite side of this, when talking about the manipulation of the reality, time, and the probability, through the algorithm of a software program. When you type in the term Satan, all in small letters, Jason, and hit the enter button, most of the time, through spell checking, it doesn't keep Satan in a small S-A-T-A-N. It capitalizes sometimes all 5 letters. Why is that? Because the algorithm of that computer software has been manipulated, okay, by engineers through the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. That's a powerful paradigm, Jason, as we're building up to this crescendo of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Now, there are 7.7 billion people upon the face of this earth. Every one of us, Jason, has been told for the past 3 to 4 months to socially distance ourselves from each other in the measure of 6 feet. Well, 7.7 billion people times 6 feet equals 46 billion 200 million degrees of separation. Now, notice that the first two numbers, 4 and 6, 46. So the human genome has 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother, 23 from the father, 23 in me. So then in Genesis, quickly, chapter 3, verses 1, and then verses 4 and 5 in the King James Version, the serpent speaks 46 words to the woman who later is named Eve. In Genesis chapter 11, verses 3 and 4, at the Tower of Babel or Babylon, the people speak 46 words, Jason, in Genesis chapter 11, verses 3 and 4, according to the King James Version. Then in Genesis chapter 2, going back to chapter 2, verses 23 and 24, Adam speaks 46 words about his wife Eve. Now, Jason, I'm going to say something that is going to blow your mind. Well, you probably already know this, as we're just kind of relaying this foundation concerning Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed through the prism of the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. In the 46th Psalm, okay? Now, according to a lot of Christian historians, okay, such as Flavius Josephus. So then Flavius Josephus, who was both an Old and New Testament historian, had said that the 46th division of Psalm, you and I have 46 chromosomes per gene, it was reinterpreted spiritually and genetically by William Shakespeare, whose real name is Sir Francis Bacon. William Shakespeare was 46 years old when he genetically interpreted the 46 Psalms, 46 chromosomes. From verse 1, Jason, from verse 1 to verse 3, from the word, and this is going to blow your mind, from verse 1 to verse 3 is a combination of 46 words. In other words, from verse 1, God, to verse 3, shake, is 46 words. From God to shake in Psalm 46, in verse 1, God, start with God, to verse 3, in with shake, it has 46 words. What is more mind-blowing, Jason, in the same division of Psalm, the 46th division, 46 chromosomes, from verse 9, circle the word spear and count down 46 words to verse 11 to the word Selah, it has 46 words. Jason, that is not by accident. So then Psalm 46, that was reinterpreted or spiritually, genetically modified by William Shakespeare at the age of 46, from verse 1, God, to verse 3, shake, is 46 words in the King James Version. From verse 9, spear, to verse 11, Selah, is 46 words. So in other words, 7.7 billion people are told by the deep state to socially distance ourselves, okay, 6 feet apart from each other, which is the greatest global, not just the greatest global cover-up in human history based on a scam, but it is the greatest global conspiracy of a hex and a curse put upon humanity. But thank God you and I are not cursed, because we are protected by the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I'm just laying this foundation before we get to Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. 7.7 billion people times 6 feet is 46,200,000,000 degrees of separation. This is going to blow your mind as well, Jason. In St. John chapter 2, verses 19 to 21, Jesus says I can destroy this temple and raise it up in 3 days. Now, Jason, keep a mental paperclip there in John chapter 2, verses 19 through 21. Back in 1 Samuel 16:23, I'm just building this foundation before we get to Kobe Bryant. Back in 1 Samuel 16:23, according to the Jewish scholar, rabbinical scholar, Nachmanides, including Maimonides, had wrote that the harp that David played to calm the spirit of Saul, that harp contained 46 strings. This is where you and I talk about string theory or DNA. So then David has a harp, and some harps have 22 strings, 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Some harps go up to 47 strings. But rabbinically, according to both Nachmanides and Maimonides, the harp of David had 46 strings. Each string represents a divine chromosome. So David could play the 46 strings because the 46 chromosomes of David were in harmony to the 46 strings of that harp that calmed the soul of Saul. Now, Jason, this is going to be mind-blowing. So then from 1 Samuel 16:23 to today, 2020, is a protracted period of time of 3,000 years. Now, back to John chapter 2, verses 19 through 21. So then Jesus says, I can destroy this temple and raise it up in 3 days. Well, a day unto the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is 1 day. So what Jesus Christ was saying, I can destroy this temple, I can shut down America and the world, and then raise it up in 3 days or in 3,000 years. Because from the time that David played that 46-string harp in 1 Samuel 16:23 to 2020 is 3,000 years of our time, which is 3 days to God. So then the enemies of Christ, the Sanhedrin Council, said, it took our fathers 46 years, chromosomes, to build not just the physical temple, this temple. Now, Jason, also in Genesis chapter 1, where God creates the universe in 10 dimensions, and this is where we get the term university. Uni means unity, and verse means the scriptures. So when we say God created the unity of the scriptures, we're saying God created the universe, or university. It means to be versed in a verse of a scripture. So creation represents both the thought in the tongue of God's language, dialect, and accent. As we're building this foundation by first exposing, Jason, the manipulation of reality, time, and probability as we come to Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman. Also, those 10 dimensions in Genesis 1, 4 are knowable, Jason. 6 are unknowable, 46. So then, Jason, every 46 chapter, every 46 verse, every 46 word, every 46 letter, every 46 comma, colon, semicolon, and period, my friend, speaks directly and indirectly to genetical change and a genetical anomaly. As we're talking about Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed, to understand why Kobe Bryant was silenced, and I believe his friend Chadwick Boseman was silenced, we have to understand the foundation that brought their demise through the manipulation of their reality, time, and probability. So then, Jason, we're coming to the boule. Now, in the gospel according to St. Matthew, this is going to blow your mind. You already know this. So then we have to lay a biblical foundation to understand the geopolitical aspect of what happened to these two men. So you have to examine it's a spiritual factor first before it becomes a geopolitical factor second, and then a crime third. So Matthew chapter 4, verses 15 and 16. Now, Jason, what I am going to say is going to blow your mind. In the King James Version, in Matthew chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, according to the King James Version, not the Revised King James Version, not the New King James Version, or any other translation, but according to the King James Version, or the KJV, chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, it has 46 words, Jason. But there's 46 chromosomes. So then, 7.7 billion people times 6 spaces or feet in circumference, 46,200,000,000 degrees of separation. So then in Matthew chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, it has 46 words. There are two key words that I want you and I to examine. Zabulon and Nephthalim. So the term Zab, then you get the term Bulon, capital B-U-L-O-N, which then becomes a transliteration to the term Boule, capital B-O-U-L apostrophe E. So then, to go about and to talk about the Boule Secret Society, the Boule Secret Society was created on the 15th of May in 1904 in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the hometown of Kobe Bryant, and the hometown of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, which its true name or code name is the Abolition Manumission Emancipated Church. But the term manumission, M-A-N-U, mission means the redesignment of a new slave. Slavery, though it was abolished in both the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 and the ratification of the 13th Amendment 2 years later in 1865. But psychologically, Jason, slavery has been redesigned as Black people or any other people who are now a new slave because they've been manumissioned. So the Zabulon or Boule or Sigma Pi Phi. Okay, so then the Zabulon or Boule, it has 9 Black Greek letter fraternity and sorority secret societies. Now remember, 7.7 billion times 6 equals 46 billion, okay, 200 million. Now, Jason, the number 200 is very interesting because in social distancing, Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, 666, historical social distancing. In Enoch chapter 6, there were 200 angels. Remember, 46 billion, 46 chromosomes, 200 million degrees of separation, 200 fallen angels called Enochians in Enoch 6. Out of the 200, only 10% are named, Jason, in Enoch 6. I'm not going to go through that today, maybe at another time. So then in Enoch 6, it has a chronological order of the 10% of the 200 angels that conspired on Mount Hermon, the same mountain that Jesus occupied in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the Mount of Transfiguration. And as a side note, Jesus spent 6 days on Mount Hermon, Mountain of Transfiguration, in Matthew, 6 days in Mark, 8 days in Luke. That's 20 days, but yet there were 20 angels that are mentioned out of the 200 in Enoch 6.
Sorry, Bishop, this
Go right ahead.
Enoch, immediately brings me back to this Enochian magic that you told us about that John Dee was practicing. But I don't know if I understood you correctly. So does this come from the Bible? Isn't that witchcraft? Why is the Bible talking about it?
Well, number one, Enochian magic is not rooted in the Bible. And the term Bible means Biblios, the book, the volume, the word of the Lord. So Enochian magic, like I always teach, Jason, whatever God has in truth, Satan has a counterfeit. So since there is a Genesis 1 creation in truth, Satan wants to counterfeit that through DARPA, through the program called Next Generation. Now, the Enochian keys is not based upon the word of God. It represents a connect to the keys of Solomon or singularity. It's witchcraft, it's divination, it's manipulation of reality, time, and probability. So the word of the Lord does not espouse nor support Enochian keys. Now, as a side point, the term Enochian is encoded in the medical term inoculation or inoculation, okay, through John Dee, right, who had totally manipulated the reality, time, and probability of the British crown and throne, or the mindset of Queen Elizabeth I. So to get to the premise of your question, no, the word of the Lord does not promote Enochian keys, but in Enoch, it exposes it. So then these 20 angels that are named out of the 200 represent the 10% of the 220 angels who were both male and female. And this is where we get the term ambiguous genitalia, okay? So then, according to the 1954 book by Dr. Charles H. Wesley called The History of Sigma Pi Phi, or Boule, he says that there are 9 families, and we know that there are actually 13 families that control 90% of the world's wealth. But the 9 of the 13, whereas you have the remaining 4 that protect the 4 corners of the earth that contains the 9 families, Rothschilds, Oppenheimers, Warburgs, Rockefellers, the Astor family, Bilderbergs, Habsburgs, Sassoon, and the Lee family out of Hong Kong. These 9 families are then designated a Boule secret society initiative or foundation. So then the Rothschilds are protected by Alpha Phi Alpha. Alpha Phi Alpha protect the Rothschilds. Well, this powerful man who recently died, who played T'Challa in the Black Panther movie, Chadwick Boseman. In actuality, as a side note, the term Boseman means bonesman, okay? And also, this is where you get the capital of the city of Montana, Bozeman, Montana. Now, remember, during that Illuminati service at the Super Bowl last year, right after Kobe Bryant was assassinated, Joe Montana, okay, was praised. And Joe Montana, and along with all of the former great quarterbacks of the NFL, okay, like Tom Brady, who's still playing in the NFL. But Joe Montana was one of the key connectors that brought Kobe Bryant to the forefront, okay, of the NFL. He pushed the NFL to have a memorial for Kobe Bryant at the Super Bowl. Joe Montana, Boseman, Montana, Chadwick Boseman. And Jason, nothing is by accident. As we're talking about this global conspiracy of the manipulation of reality, time, and probability, as we're building up slowly to this crescendo called Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Now, the 200. Now, in Matthew chapter 5, verses 15 and 16, you also get the word Nephthalim. Okay? Now, notice the last 6 words, thalam. This is where you and I get the term thallium, which is in the family of arsenic. Chadwick Boseman, I want you to hear me. So then, the truth is encoded in the word of the Lord. Zabulon, Boule, Nephthalim, or thallium, or arsenic. So in verses 15 and 16 of Matthew 4, according to the King James Version, it has 46 words, but you and I have 46 chromosomes. 23 from the mother, 23 from the father. So 46 billion, 200 million degrees of separation on a global scale that we are told by the global deep state through the Baphomet child called Boule. Because the people which sat in darkness within the Boule saw great light, and they also sat in the darkness of Nephthalim or thallium. This is where you and I get the term Nephthalim or fallen angel. That's Matthew chapter 4, verses 15 and 16. This is the manipulation of reality, time, and probability in connection to the manipulation of matter or telekinesis. This is some powerful information here today, Jason, and cutting in it. Now, further, the Boule Secret Society is the black skulls and bones. They were not designed to liberate Black America. I want you to hear me. The Boule Secret Society, and the term Boule represents they are the gatekeepers. They are the caretakers, not of their own people, Jason. They protect the gate and they caretake the Rothschilds, who are protected by Alpha Phi Alpha, the Oppenheimers, who are protected by Kappa Alpha Psi, the Warburgs, who are protected by Omega Psi Phi, the Rockefellers, who are protected by Phi Beta Sigma. It's getting deeper. The John Jacob Astor bloodline is protected by Lambda Phi Theta. The Bilderbergs, my friend, are protected by Alpha Kappa Alpha. The Habsburgs are protected by Delta Sigma Theta. The Sassoon family is protected by Zeta Phi Beta. And the Lee family out of Hong Kong, who are also bankrolling COVID-19, this scam, they are protected by Sigma Gamma Rho, RHO. So 9 Illuminati families then through history educate Black America in the Black diaspora through the historically Black colleges and universities, which were never designed or created by Black people. It was created and designed by Khazarian money. I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about those who call themselves Jews and are not, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. So they had created the Boule through Rockefeller money, Jason, on the 15th of May in 1904, to control Black America through the Boule to keep us in check. They are Zabulon Boule, who have the psyop, Jason, of Nephthalim or Nephilim. This is Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Now, my friend, the manipulation again of matter before we get to Kobe Bryant. Now, the manipulation of matter. When you and I look at Genesis chapter 1 in connection to Revelation chapter 4, Revelation chapter 12, Revelation chapter 12, verse 4, it represents the revelation of the calculation of Genesis 6, Enoch 6, and Jude 6, 666, historical, spiritual, social distancing. So in Revelation 12 and 4, a third part of the angelic government of God becomes corrupted and compromised, Jason. What is 1/3? It is 0.93s. 0.93s. Jesus lived for 33 and a half years. 0.93s, or it is a 666 percentile or percentage of the angels that were compromised by who? The tail of Lucifer. So then now we have the manipulation of the body or matter, which has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. 666, social distancing. So then, my friend, to understand the manipulation of reality, time, and probability, we have to look as to why Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman had to be eliminated. Yes, they were eliminated, and I'll prove it here. Now, as a side note, Jason, you and I have talked about before, there is a term called Gaia, capital G-A-I-A. Gaia is the language of the occult. So there is a religion that is being propagated from a witch out of Chicago, Illinois. Her name is Oprah Witch Winfrey. Yes, she's a witch. So then Oprah Winfrey, one of her best friends, is an author by the name of Eckhart Tolle. So Eckhart Tolle is a warlock and Oprah Winfrey is a witch. Or Eckhart Tolle is a male witch. Oprah Winfrey is a female warlock. So the religion of Gaia that teaches that you are your own god or goddess. That's the same lie, Jason, that the serpent told the woman in Genesis chapter 3. Now, Jason, what I'm going to say, it is going to blow your mind. You probably already know this. As we are breaking down the foundation for your listeners, the manipulation of reality, time, and probability through the life of Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman. So the term Gaia, according to the 1954 book by Dr. Charles H. Wesley, the history of Sigma Pi Phi or Boule. Dr. Wesley says, and I quote, that the religion of Gaia, which originates out of Western Africa, including the witchcraft religion called Odu Ifa, which is now worshipped by Black Lives Matter. So Gaia is the occultic language of Odu Ifa, which is the spiritual foundation of Black Lives Matter, where they represent the 16 pointed multiple pentagrams and hexagrams, where 16 points of the body or the anatomy of a human being or a non-human being, which 16 organs are then possessed by 16 principalities or demons in Odu Ifa. But the language of the 16 demons or principalities in Odu Ifa, That language is called the language of Gaia, Gaia, which is the language, the dialect in the accent of Oprah Winfrey and those three witches of Black Lives Matter. So then Gaia is the language of the occult. Now, Jason, what I'm going to say, you already know this, but your listeners are going to have their minds blown as we're talking about Volume 8 of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian Project completed. The word Gaia is translated to a Persian term, Agoy, Agoy, which means demonic algorithm, or it means a dark pattern of thinking.
But Bishop, wait a minute. You've just caused me to realize Goya beans has been in the news lately. Is that related? Goya?
That could very well be really, Jason, again, that's a mind-blowing statement because I had never thought about that. It could very well be a spiritual connection. I have to research that, but more likely it is. So this term here, Gaia, which is a transliteration of the Persian term agoy, meaning demonic algorithm or dark pattern of thinking. So the term agoy, because when we write Hebrew, including Persian, which is from right to left, then we get the term yoga. So yoga represents a bodily corporate, and this is where we get the term corpse or corporation. A bodily corpse or corporation or a corporate movement of a sick person that becomes transhumanal, convalescent, shaking poorly, whereas their body becomes an occultic letter. So then the body of Black Lives Matter, it's an occultic letter. Antifa is an occultic letter. Black Lives Matter is an occultic letter. So then when you and I talk about Gaia or Agoy or yoga, okay, a bodily corporate movement of a sick person. Yes, the person may be well physically, but when they get into those bodily positions, they're shaped like snakes and lizards. I kid you not, Jason. Then their bodies become a transhumanal occultic letter. That's yoga from Agoy, from Gaia.
Actually, Bishop, somebody in the chat just brought up the Spanish painter Francisco Goya, and that reminds me that Francisco Goya did a painting, I think it was Goya, Saturn devouring his children. It's a really scary painting. I remember seeing it in a museum one time and being quite freaked out by it. Have you ever seen this?
Never. I've never seen that before.
Look
Wow,
at
Jason.
Biting the head off.
What is the name of that picture or the name of the artist again? You just made
Francisco Goya, and it's called Saturn Devouring His Son.
Look at the term Agoya, and this is where we get the term Gregorian calendar. Gorian means also gargoyle. Now, I had two friends who are city engineers in the city, Jason, and they told me a year ago that, according to them, that there are approximately 666 gargoyles throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. So that cannot be by accident, as New York City was Masonically and Luciferic design according to design of the Scottish York Rite Order. That's why New York is called New York, because of the Scottish York Rite Masonic Order, who had bought the state of New York for $100 from the Indians. Another topic for another day. Excellent paint, Jason, excellent insight there when it comes to Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian Project completed in connection to Gaia, Agoya, okay, yoga, and then the term yoga then is a transliteration into a second Persian word. That word is called ahoy, capital Ahoy. That's a maritime nautica term for the calling of the maiden of the ships. But that term ahoy in both Babylonian and Persian mythology also means the invocation of demons. This is where we get the term chips ahoy. Oh my God, let me take my time here. So the term chips ahoy, which contains MRC5 through the Medical Research Council, diploid 5, and through natural flavorings and through the human embryonic cell, diploid cell of 293 and per C6 that you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago. So the term here, chips ahoy. Now, chips ahoy is connected, Jason, to an urban term called Chippendale. Now, I'm not talking about Chippendale furniture. According to both Roman and Greek history, Jason, a Chippendale was a male prostitute dancer and also a female prostitute dancer, even during the times of Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. So a Chippendale was a male prostitute as young, Jason, as 2 years old, where they were sold to men and told to dance before men, Chippendale dancers, so that the child can have sex with that man. Or a female prostitute, as early as the age of 2, can have sex with a woman who bought her. This is called Chippendale, according to the Urban Dictionary, or the Chippendale dancer goes back thousands of years to both Roman and Greek mythology. So Chippendale, chips ahoy, ahoy, okay, yoga, agoy, Gaia, the language of the occult through the manipulation of reality, time, and probability, Jason. Now, also the female Chippendale dancers, okay? I'm laying the foundation for Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. There is a region called Lesbos, capital Lesbos, Greece. It is a Greek island, Jason, that is located northeast of the Aegean Sea. Oh my God. So the term Lesbos was where the female Chippendale dancers were sold. So the term Lesbos today is called lesbian, as we're talking about the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. Now, Jason, Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Now, my friend, in 2003, now you and I have talked about this a multiplicity of times. Now, what Bishop is about ready to reveal, I'm not blaming any man or woman that was connected to the life of Kobe Bryant. I am a historian, I'm an academic. My job is just to connect the dots so that your listeners, Jason, can come up with the proper conclusion.
Bishop, we've got a great one. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's so strong. I know it's going to blow your mind.
Yes.
A viewer in the chat just reminded us that the Disney chipmunks are named Chip and Dale.
Oh my God. Say that again, Jason.
The chipmunks, I don't remember what movie these two are from, but they're Disney chipmunks named Chip and Dale.
Jason, Disney knows what they're doing. And that's why, Jason, you have amongst some of the best listeners I have ever come in contact. I keep beating Education a Dead Horse. Kudos. Okay. Oh, thank you, Caleb. Oh my God. Excellent. I would have never thought of Chippendale. Chippendale. So they know there are engineers, there are people up in the high executive order of Disney, who also owns ESPN. They know Greek history, Roman history, and Babylonian history. Wayfair. They know this. Accent, Chippendale. I'm going to have to bring that up later, probably next week. Accent. Thank you so much, Brother Caleb. As we're talking about the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. Cut in any time, Jason. In 2003, you know about the rape case with Kobe Bryant in Eagle, Colorado. He is sent to Eagle, Colorado quickly by Dr. Jerry Buss, the former owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, the late Jerry Buss, okay? As if there were no knee doctors in Los Angeles. I'll come back to that. So in 2003, Kobe Bryant travels to Eagle, Colorado, Jason. And he travels to Edwards, Colorado to see a knee doctor by the name of Dr. Richard Stedman. Now, Dr. Richard Stedman is a member of Phi Beta Kappa. Phi Beta Kappa is the educational arm of the deep state. Kappa Beta Phi is the Wall Street faction. So then, there was a doctor who was and still is Phi Beta Kappa, Dr. Richard Stedman, who had instructed Kobe Bryant to travel, Jason, 40 to 50 miles away to the lodge and spa at Cordelia in Edwards, Colorado. Now, Jason, when I'm about ready to reveal, I did not know this when we had talked about Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed some months ago. Guess who owns the lodge and spa at Cordelia in Edwards, Colorado now? A company by the name of the Windrose Holdings LLC Group. Well, who owns the Windrose Holdings LLC Group? The W Hotel chain, which they have a major hotel satellite here in New York City.
Yeah.
At Times Square, W Hotel. Now, the W Hotel had a famous preacher, Dr. Zachary Timms, who was found OD'd back in August the 12th, 2011. Chadwick Boseman died also during the month of August. I'll come back to that. So Zachary Timms had pastored a mega church in Orlando, Florida. And
Wow.
he traveled to New York City unbeknownst to his wife and family.
Wow.
Before Dr. Zachary Timms, who is also not just Phi Beta Kappa, but was also Sigma Pi Phi.
Did you ever meet this guy, Bishop?
I've never met this guy. But I
heroin
know,
and cocaine for a man of religion seems pretty not. What do you think of that?
Jason, and let me say this. Oh my God, I'm glad that you brought this up. Dr. Zachary Timms was also Alpha Phi Alpha, just like Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman. Now, Dr. Zachary Timms, before he came into the church, was a drug dealer out of Orlando and was addicted to cocaine and crack cocaine before he came to know Christ. I don't have any proof I'm about to say, Jason, so I want to make this clear to your listeners. So then, Dr. Zachary Timms came to New York City to go to a radio station that we don't even know to this day which one, in order to expose preachers within the Illuminati across America. So he checks into the W Hotel on the 9th of August, 2011. Dr. Zachary Timms met Kobe Bryant 3 times, and he met Chadwick Boseman once, because both Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant went to this man's church as visitors when Kobe Bryant who played for the Los Angeles Lakers, would travel to Orlando, Florida once a year to play against the Orlando Magic. So then the W Hotel, which is owned by, so the Windrose Holdings Group owns the Lodge and Spa Cordelia, which Kobe Bryant got himself into a mess in 2003. So that Lodge and Spa, Jason, is owned by the Windrose Holdings Group, and the W Hotel owns the Windrose Holdings Group. Guess who owns the W Hotel chain, 75% of it?
Maybe the Windrose Holding Group?
No, the Marmont Group out of Chicago, the Prisker family.
Oh, yeah.
So let me say this. Listen, I'm not blaming anyone, Jason. What I'm doing is just connecting dots. So this Cordelia Spa, that Kobe Bryant met this young woman by the name of Caitlin Faber. So the parents of Caitlin Faber, as I go back to 2003, were Phi Beta Kappa, and they knew Dr. Richard Stedman. So the parents of Caitlin Faber, who had accused Kobe Bryant of rape, Paul Louis Faber and Christine Ann Faber, were Phi Beta Kappa, and one of their lawyers that they retained 3 years prior in 2000 was Pamela Mackey. Pamela Mackey represented Kobe Bryant in that rape case in 2003. Pamela Mackey represents Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, and the law firm, Jason, it gets crazier. The law firm where Pamela Mackey works for out of Denver, Colorado, the Haddon, Morgan, and Foreman law firm in Denver, Colorado, they are now representing, guess who, Jason?
I don't know.
Jessley Maxwell.
Oh, whoa.
So then, Jessley Maxwell's, one of her lawyers is Pamela Mackey,
Wow.
who represented Kobe Bryant back in 2003.
Now, Bishop, wait a second. Look at this. See
Jason,
this logo?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Go right ahead.
Well, look at the logo here with the M and these vertical lines kind of penetrating the V. It reminds me of that T-shirt we saw George Floyd wearing with the young
Oh my God.
hoodlums or whatever it was. It was some kind of logo, the young something.
Yes. And Jason, compare the logo of the Haddon, Morgan, and Foreman law firm. And Morgan was the middle name, is the middle name of Jeffrey Morgan Steibel. No relation.
Right.
So then, notice the logo of the Haddon, Morgan, Foreman law firm. Compare that to the logo. Remember the late Bishop Eddie Long in Atlanta? And he pastored a mega church in Atlanta. Their logo is similar to the logo of the Haddon, Morgan, Foreman law firm.
But not only that, sorry, Bishop, real quick. Remember this picture we had is this guy Larry Fitzgerald with Kobe Bryant?
Larry Fitzgerald, yes, of the Phoenix Cardinals, right?
So he's got this thing.
Danger, that lapel, yes, the Kobe Bryant Nike system. Kobe Bryant was heavily involved in both the Thelema Secret Society and the Theosophical Secret Society, which one of the hand symbols of Aleister Crowley was this. Chadwick Boseman's character, T'Challa, is this. This represents a high-level Thelema and Theosophical Secret Society member, which the crossbone of the arms represents Osiris has risen. So the crossbone of Chadwick Boseman, he was involved with dark arts like Kobe Bryant in both the Thelema Secret Society and the Theosophical Secret Society, which the crossbones, the skull of Kobe Bryant and the skull of Chadwick Boseman with the two crossbones, skull and bones. And the
One of the
false
thing about
of the
it.
arms
Sorry,
represents Osiris has risen, or the pentagram. Go right ahead, Jason.
sorry, Bishop. Yeah, we get some feedback there. One of the thing about this logo, and at the risk, I'm sorry if this offends anybody, Bishop. It looks
No.
like the head of a penis.
Yes. The deep state is telling you and I who they are. Even steeples at the top of churches. That is a phallic symbol of a man's penis. Father God, forgive me. I'm not talking about the Church of Jesus Christ. I'm just talking about the schematic or structure of a lot of physical buildings that call themselves a church. These steeples have a phallic symbol of a man's anatomy. That's rooted, Jason, in the manipulation of reality, time, and probability. So this law firm, go right ahead,
Sorry.
Jason.
Yeah, so many people are throwing so much stuff at me. The other thing about it, Bishop, is it looks like the Gmail logo.
Yes. Well, the Gmail logo is also the apron of a mason.
Right. Yes.
Now, in Genesis chapter 3, after Adam and Eve fell, they made themselves aprons. Well, who taught them to do that? Not God. The serpent taught them. The serpent taught them how to make Masonic aprons. Now Adam and Eve has become Masonically, genetically changed in Genesis 3. So then, Kobe Bryant in 2003 is accused of rape from this woman by the name of Caitlin Faber, whose parents were not only Phi Beta Kappa, but they knew both Pamela Mackey and Dr. Richard Stedman, who's also Phi Beta Kappa. So then Dr. Richard Stedman, who's Phi Beta Kappa, instructed Kobe not to stay near the doctor's office, but go to Eagle, Colorado from Edwards to check into the Cordelia Spa, or the Lodge and Spa at Cordelia in Edwards, Colorado, which is now owned, Jason, by the Windrose Holdings Group, or LLC. And the Windrose Holdings Group, LLC, is owned by the W Hotel chain, where in August of 2011, the body of Zachary Timms was found on the floor, where the police told us that he OD'd. Let me bust everyone's bubble. I do not believe, Jason, that Dr. Zachary Timms OD'd. The deep state knows how to cover up a murder, to assassinate him, to make it look like he OD'd, because they knew his past life, he was a junkie.
Yeah.
And then
it would also shame him to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Because he was going to reveal Illuminati preachers. So then who owns the W Hotel? 75% is owned by the Marymount, or the Marmon Group owns 75% of not just the Hyatt, but the Marymount. Well, who owns the Marmon Group? The Pritzker family out of Chicago, Illinois. Who is the CEO of the Marmon Group? The governor of the state of Illinois, Jay Pritzker. Jason, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just connecting dots here. Now, from 1996 to 2003, from 96 to 2003, Kobe Bryant is connected to a man by the name of Arm Tellem. Okay. Now, Arm Tellem was an agent for the Wasserman Media Group out of Los Angeles. Arm Tellem was also the former agent for Irvin Magic Johnson. Arm Tellem represented Kobe for 7 years, from 1996 to 2003, as Arm Tellem, who now runs the Detroit Pistons, was an agent for 7 years, from 96 to 2003. He represented Kobe for 7 years, but he was an agent at the Wasserman Media Group for 34 years. Jason, the Wasserman Media Group is founded and still is controlled by a young man by the name of Casey Wasserman. The grandfather of Casey Wasserman was a man by the name of Lou Wasserman, who was heavily connected to the Cleveland Mafia in Cleveland, Ohio.
How do you like the slight modification to the apron envelope Gmail logo turned upside down?
Oh my goodness. Look at that, Jason. Just like the logo of that law, nothing's by accident. So Lou Wasserman, the grandfather of Casey Wasserman, who owns the Wasserman Media Group, which had contracted Kobe for 7 years through their agent arm Tellem from 96 to 2003. The grandfather of Casey Wasserman was a man by the name of Lou Wasserman, who ran the Music Corporation of America. And Lou Wasserman was connected to the Cleveland, Ohio Mafia during the 40s and 50s to John Scalish, Mo Dalitz, including Bugsy Siegel.
Huh.
Jason.
Yeah, he looks like it.
Yeah, so the grandfather of Casey Wasserman, and Casey Wasserman runs the agency called the Wasserman Media Group, okay? His grandfather, Lou Wasserman, was also connected to a man by the name of Frankie Carbo of the Lucchese crime family here in New York City. Who's Frankie Carbo? He ran the boxing industry for decades, fixing fights. Fixing the fights of Joe Louis and Max Schmeling. Okay?
Wow.
Including fighters like Jersey Joe Walcott and Sugar Ray Robinson. Frankie Carbo was a killer who was best friends with Lou Wasserman, the grandfather of Casey Wasserman, who had signed Kobe Bryant to represent Kobe from 96 to 2003.
Now, Bishop, our viewers are very interested. First of all, it definitely looks like Lou Wasserman got his glasses at the Jewish gangster store. But is there any relationship with Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
Listen, Jason, I've been getting a lot of emails since our Sunday night global masterclass for the past 2 days. I'm researching that. She could very well be related.
It looks like they could be, doesn't it, Bishop? There seems to be some familial resemblance there. Narrow face, the shape of the nose, the smile, they just sort of, I don't know, that might be.
Could very well be related, Jason. And God willing, next week I'll have an answer for you. They could very well be related. I'm going to say something that's going to blow your mind as well, my friend. You already know this. The great-grandfather of Casey Wasserman, who was the father of Lou Wasserman, was Isaac Wasserman, who was very close to Benjamin Alinsky, the father of Saul Alinsky. Rules for Radicals. Wait a minute now. So Isaac Wasserman, the great-grandfather of Casey Wasserman, was a Russian immigrant, and his wife, Minnie Chadwick, immigrated to Cleveland, Ohio in 1918, a year after the Bolshevik Revolution. Now, in the book Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky makes mention of his parents' close relationship with a man by the name of Isaac Wasserman and Minnie Chadwick, his wife. It's going to get deeper now. So Isaac Wasserman was connected to Joseph Stalin, Lenin, and Trotsky, the great-grandfather of Casey Wasserman, who is the father of Lou Wasserman, who is the grandfather of Casey Wasserman, who hired Arm Tellem to sign Kobe Bryant in 1996.
Wow, wait a minute.
Jason, these are gangsters that Kobe Bryant was involved with. He inserted, listen, Kobe Bryant was a Luciferian project complete. I'm going to say something else that's going to blow your mind as well. the Wasserman bloodline is connected to Dr. Paul von Wasserman, who created, get this, Jason, the Wasserman syphilis test for Tuskegee University. Dr. Paul von Wasserman, related to Isaac Wasserman, related to Lou Wasserman, and who was the grandfather of Mr. Casey Wasserman, who had hired Arm Tellem to sign Kobe Bryant out of high school to represent Kobe Bryant from 96 to 2003.
You know, Bishop, I've become very suspicious of any of these medical antibody tests because whoever makes them could basically just say, oh, you've got it.
See, Jason, these were gangsters, okay? Because you got Casey, you got Arm Tellem, Casey Wasserman, Lou Wasserman, Isaac Wasserman, all connected in the bloodline to the creator of the Wasserman syphilis test, who injected syphilis into 600 Black men and women from 1932 to 1972, the Tuskegee conspiracy. But yet Kobe Bryant was involved with the bloodline generations of gangsters. Now, Jason, it gets deeper here. We got a few minutes and we're done. We're going to have a volume 9 next week of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. In 2013, Rob Pelinka, who is now the general manager and the president of basketball operations of the Los Angeles Lakers, introduced Kobe Bryant to Jeff Steibel. He introduced Jeff Steibel to Kobe Bryant in 2013. Now, who is Rob Pelinka? He's Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Michigan, who is great friends with Jalen Rose of the Fab Five of the University of Michigan. So then, Rob Pelinka bought the rights to Kobe Bryant as a slave in 2003 because Rob Pelinka ran the Landmark Agency out of Hollywood. So the Landmark Agency that was once ran by Rob Pelinka bought the rights to Kobe Bryant from the Wasserman Group in 2003 because the Wasserman Group wanted nothing to do with Kobe because of this rape case. So then, we juxtapose from 2003 to 2013, 10 years later. So Rob Pelinka introduces Kobe Bryant to Jeff Steibel.
Sorry, Bishop, wasn't there some symbology with the plus? Here's the Landmark Sports Agency.
Yes. Now, remember, you and I had talked about 23andMe, all right, the double Band-Aid, and the Wayfair Corporation, the double Band-Aid. And when you look at the Landmark Agency, that was once ran by Rob Pelinka, who is a snake. Because Rob Pelinka said at the memorial back in February that Rob Pelinka was the last one that contacted Kobe Bryant. First, he told a lie that he said that Kobe Bryant texted him and that Kobe Bryant was heroic. How can Kobe Bryant be heroic in his helicopters going down to the ground 180 miles an hour? Rob Pelinka is not trusted by a lot of GMs.
He's saying he texted him while the helicopter was crashing?
While the helicopter was crashing.
I don't believe that. He's got his daughter with him. He's going to text somebody?
Rob Pelinka said it at the memorial, Jason.
I don't believe that at all.
Rob Pelinka said that at the memorial. Look it up on YouTube.
I don't doubt that Rob Pelinka said it, but I mean, I don't think anybody would text. I mean, he's got his daughter with him in the helicopter. Right. I don't think he's texting.
Well, you know what? Rob Pelinka is a liar because Rob Pelinka said that Kobe reached out to him and Kobe was heroic. What? That's a lie. Kobe, he's probably scared for his life and the life of his child. And there's 6, 7, 8 people. But Rob Pelinka was the one that reached out to Kobe. How did Rob Pelinka know that Kobe Bryant was on that helicopter?
Right.
See, Kobe Bryant was exposing some powerful people during his rape case, including Shaquille O'Neal, who wanted to kill Kobe Bryant. So in 2013, Rob Pelinka introduces Jeff Stable to Kobe Bryant and introduces Kobe Bryant to Jeff Stable. A year before, in 2012, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, you and I have talked about him, the richest man in Hollywood, an Asian doctor, a minority owner of the LA Lakers, introduces Jeff Stable to Rob Pelinka in 2012. 2 years prior, in 2010, Lawrence D. Fink, and I think David Hawkins is going to like what I'm about to say. Lawrence D. Fink, yes. He is the CEO of the BlackRock Fund, and the BlackRock Fund was partly owned the Carlyle Group, which was once owned by the Bin Laden family. The Carlyle Group and the BlackRock Fund is connected to the missing Malaysia Flight 370, Jason. Oh, this is deep. So 2010, Lawrence D. Fink, who is the CEO of the BlackRock Fund, and he is a small minority owner of the LA Lakers, he then introduces Jeff Stable to Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. My friend, it gets deeper. 3 years prior, in 2007, which was the year that Kobe Bryant wanted to be traded, and he demanded a trade, Adam Silver, the former deputy commissioner of the National Basketball Association, who is now the commissioner of the NBA, introduced Jeff Stable to Lawrence D. Fink, the CEO of BlackRock Fund, which they control the teachers' pension fund here in the United States and throughout Eastern Central and Western Europe. And 3 years prior, in 2004, it gets deeper now, the late David Stern, former commissioner of the National Basketball Association, introduces Jeff Stable to Adam Silver. Who in the hell is Jeff Stable? And when you type in his name, excuse my French, and type in the net worth of Jeff Stable, it doesn't come up. It comes up with Kobe Bryant's net worth. Why? Jason, I don't have any proof what I'm about to say. Jeff Stable is a ghost. He's connected to U.S. intelligence because back in 2002, Jeff Stable created the Brain Gate. You and I had talked about that. He created the Brain Gate. Years later, in 2013, under the Obama administration, Barack Obama, through the United States government, had contracted, through the National Institutes of Health, had contracted the Brain Gate to be in conjunction with the Brain Initiative in 2013. Brain modification, behavior modification, and mind control. So then, Jason, Chadwick Boseman comes up. Now, Chadwick Boseman was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. He's a graduate of Harvard University. So Alpha Phi Alpha is one of the Divine Nine of those Black Greek letter secret societies of fraternities and sororities that is under the umbrella of Sigma Pi Phi Boule. Now, there's an urban term called Boseman, capital B-O-E-S-M-A-N. Jason, that term Boseman means he that is what others think he is not thinking they are. Now, let me say this again. So then, the term Boseman, according to the Urban Dictionary, it means he that is what others think he is not thinking they are. Now, that's a strange commodity or a strange name for the term Boseman. After Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman met, they met 4 times, Jason. The first time they met in 2008 at a after party at the Oscars. So then, Chadwick Boseman had said concerning Kobe Bryant that Kobe Bryant is and was what people said he was. But yet the word Boseman means he that is what others think he is not thinking they are. So they met 4 times, Jason, because Chadwick Boseman. Now, if you go, Jason, and just type in, and I'm almost done. Type in Boseman is apparently unhappy with the Black Panther franchise. Boseman is apparently unhappy with the Black Panther franchise. That's HBC and HBCBUCC.com. Or just type in Boseman is apparently unhappy with the Black Panther franchise. That link came out, Jason, on the 26th of January, 2020. Why is that date so important?
Well, isn't that the day that Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed?
Yeah, the same date that Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down, it came out on that same day, that Sunday afternoon, that Chadwick Boseman, and he said concerning Kobe Bryant, he is who they say he is. This is what Boseman said about Kobe after they first met in 2018. He is who they say he is, but the meaning of the term Boseman means he that is what others think he is not, thinking they are. So then, that was the same date on the 26th of January that Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down.
I'm surprised he's unhappy. It was like the most popular movie. He's famous for being Black Panther.
But the thing is, he wanted more money, Jason. And they
wow.
did not, and there were other co-stars that were making just as much as he was, but he's the star. So Chadwick Boseman was unhappy because he was told that his character was going to be phased out.
Oh.
This was on the 26th of January, 2020, the same day that Kobe Bryant's plane went down. So the character called T'Challa, it's a name of a demon. Guess what religion in Africa? Odu Ifa, the religion of Black Lives Matter. Now, Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman met 4 times, beginning in 2018. And the last time they met was a month before Kobe's assassination, December of 2019, because they wanted to leave the industry, the plantation. Now, an autopsy came out 2 days ago concerning the body of Chadwick Boseman, according to the LA Times. Now, LA Times is fake news. Take it for what it's worth. They said that the timeline of Chadwick Boseman's death, that the body of Chadwick Boseman had thallium and arsenic. Now, remember in Matthew chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, of that term, not just zabulon or boule, but the term nephthalum or nephtalium. So that the body of Mr. Boseman was poisoned before his diagnosis. So then, Chadwick Boseman did not become sick, Jason, until after his first meeting with Kobe Bryant in February of 2018.
What does that mean?
His family has hired. Now, what is that doctor's name? Dr. Michael Baden or Baden?
Yeah,
right?
I've spoken to him.
Right. Now he has reached out. I don't know if this is true, and it might be a lie, and it's on the fake news media that he has reached out to the family of Chadwick Boseman. I don't think that is true, but take it for what it's worth. But they have hired an independent doctor to look into what happened to Chadwick Boseman, whose character was being phased out, Jason.
But I thought he had colon cancer.
He had colon cancer, but according to the autopsy 2 days ago, his poison had predated his diagnosis of the colon cancer.
Oh, wow. Can poison give you colon cancer?
Well,
Probably.
we don't know that. We don't know. We just don't know. And that's,
it is really young at 42 or 43. And I mean, he looks so fit. Like, it was very surprising to me to hear that he died or that he even had cancer.
And Jason, colon cancer is hereditary. No family member of this young man had colon cancer in their past.
Isn't it also pretty treatable? Can't they remove like a lot of your colon and have you still be alive?
If it's caught early enough. But it was when he was diagnosed, he was at stage 4.
Uh-huh.
And so then, to understand, Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are the creators of the Black Panther. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were 33rd and 1/2 degree Masons. That's nothing new. But according to the grandson of Jack Kirby, okay, now as a side note, Jack Kirby died on the month of August 28th. Well, Chadwick Boseman died on the 28th of August, which was also celebrated as Jackie Robinson Day. The same day that Chadwick Boseman died, and Chadwick Boseman played in a biopic of Jackie Robinson some years ago.
He was Jackie Robinson, wasn't he?
He was Jackie Robinson, and he met the widow of Jackie Robinson years ago. So Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa, is the name of a spirit or demon in the West African religion of Odu Ifa. But the sister of his character, her name is Shuri, Shuri, which is the name of a female goddess of succubation, where? In Odu Ifa. The actress who's going to take the lead is a woman by the name of Letitia Wright, Letitia, Lolita Wright. She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, the same membership that these 3 witches of Black Lives Matter are members of.
This is the sister who's like the technology expert in the movie.
Right, exactly. So she's taken over the role. Now, according to Jack
taking over the role, sorry to interrupt, but this woman is going to become Black Panther? I don't know anything about the story.
Well, she's going to take over the role because according to the 1966 original comic creation by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby of the Black Panther, the Black Panther is touched by Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom then transfers a disease which the Black Panther dies 4 years later.
Wow.
Well, we're told that Chadwick Boseman had his colon cancer for 4 years. This is how the thinking of the deep state is, Jason. So then the director of the Black Panther Party, and I'm done, is a young African-American man by the name of Ryan Coogler, capital Coogler. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. He's a Boule. He told Chadwick Boseman in 2018 that his character would be phased out. So then in 1939, Jason, and I'm done. So the Marvel Comics franchise was created in 1939 by Martin Goodman. One of his best friends was a man by the name of Jack Parson. You and I had talked about Jack Parson. But yeah, Jack Parson, yes, see, and connected to L. Ron Hubbard in Dianetics. But Jack Parson was not born Jack Parson. Jack Parson was born Marvel Whiteside Parsons.
They're connected to Stan Lee in some way as well,
Yes,
too.
they're connected to Stan Lee. So Marvel Comics is named after the best friend of Martin Goodman, whose name is Marvel Whiteside Parsons, or Jack Parsons.
Wow.
Jack
You know, and
Parsons.
he's kind of, look at him. He looks like Tony Stark, and he was designing rockets and technology and stuff. Iron Man.
Yes.
He looks
So
just
then
like him.
Stan Lee and Jack Kirby left Marvel years later because of creative differences. Okay. So then, Jason, and I'm done. So then, when we're talking about Marvel Comics, now, Jack Parsons, his last full day that he died, Jack Parsons died on the month of 6/16. And he died. That's it. Jack Parsons, or Marvel Whiteside, he died 6 years, 1 month, 1 week, and 6 days after the founding of NASA. Now, as I end this here today, Jason, so then Jack Parsons, who's born as Marvel Whiteside, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So from whence his name is called the Marvel Comics industry, or the Marvel Comics franchise is named after Jack Parson, who was a part of both the Thelema Secret Society and the Theosophical Secret Society. So Parsons died 1,660 days after the death of Aleister Crowley.
Huh.
So the 166 months before the founding of the Church of Satan by Anton LaVey. That's exactly 6 years, 6 weeks before the founding of NASA. So then in my conclusion, Jason, so then Kobe Bryant met with Chadwick Boseman a period of 4 times. So then the Marvel Comics Corporation was named after Jack Parsons. And in my conclusion, we're going to pick back up on this next week because there's so many layers. So the hand signs of the Wakanda warriors, and the term Wakanda is a Swahili word meaning the foundation of the craft of witches. That's what Wakanda means in Swahili, the foundation of the craft of witches. And in the Black Panther comic book, Dr. Doom kills T'Challa by transferring a disease which took 4 years to bring down T'Challa. But yet, Chadwick Boseman, we are told by the media, was suffering from colon cancer for 4 years. And we're told that he was making movies between surgeries and chemotherapy. So then Chadwick Boseman was a member of both the Thelema Secret Society and the Theosophical Secret Society for the Osiris hand sign with the skull of both Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman with the arm sign that represents the insignia of both the Skulls and Bones and the Boule Secret Society. And my friend, that is the end of volume 9 of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Mind-blowing information this afternoon.
Absolutely, Bishop. I have to say, when you were talking about Jeff Steibold and the brain, whatever,
Yes.
It reminded me of a video I was watching over the weekend that I'm sure you're aware of, where Elon Musk has his brain company, the Neuralink, where they now have hooked up a pig to this chip, and they were listening to the brain of the pig. I mean, I know I don't want one of these things in my brain, and I know a lot of people are very skeptical of Elon Musk, and certainly, I mean, what they're talking about in this article here in Technology Review is that there's a lot of controversy in how confident they were that you're going to be able to download your brain and upload stuff into your brain and basically like kind of download your consciousness. and then put it in somebody else's brain or something. It's very bizarre.
It's DARPA's next generation, right? They're counterfeiting the creation story of Genesis chapter 1. Whatever God has in truth, Satan has a counterfeit. And you know what, Jason? Something came to my mind as well. Remember a few years ago, there was an African-American man who is hailed as a hero. His name is James Shaw Jr. Whereas he was the hero at this Waffle House, right, in Antioch, Tennessee, I believe, where this white kid came in with a gun and was shooting up the place. And James Shaw Jr., who is a boule, James Shaw Jr. is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, the same fraternity that Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman belong to.
Huh. So he killed the guy, or what's going on here?
No. He tackled the guy. James Shaw Jr. tackled the guy to keep him from shooting anyone else. Mm-hmm. But one of the patrons that was shot was a gun advocate. Okay, I believe it was a woman, if I'm not mistaken. She was for gun control, for the Second Amendment, but she was one of the ones that got shot, supposedly. And there's a lot of people think that in the state of Tennessee, especially within Antioch, that the whole thing was staged.
The guy was naked?
Well, that's what I heard. That's what they're saying, that the guy went in naked.
Who would do that naked? That's weird.
And James Shaw Jr. was presented an award at the MTV Hero Awards, or the MTV Awards. Guess who gave him that award? Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
So, Jason, this is volume 8 of a Luciferian project completed. Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. One of these comic books that goes back decades is called A Million Slaves for the Master Eye. Wow. A Million Slaves for the Master Eye, which was a creation of the creator of the Black Panther, Jack Kirby. A Million Slaves for the Master Eye. And that's my end today of the manipulation of reality, time, and probability throughout the life of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. It's going to be mind-blowing information next week, my friend, as we get into volume 9. And what's going to be so more powerful is, again, these mafia connections that is interwoven into the life of Kobe Bryant that contributed to the closing of his eyes. Jason, powerful, powerful information here today for your listeners.
That's absolutely a great presentation, Bishop. And, I think we got to look further into this relationship between the Wasserman crime family and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and see if there's anything going on there. Yes. I do want to remind people that they can hear you on the radio, Bishop Gaiters. They can go to liferadionj.com/Gaiters. And on Thursdays from 7 to 9, they can listen here on the internet, or they can tune in on 92.9 FM. It's very important for viewers to sponsor the Bishop and support the global spiritual revolution by going to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group and making a financial contribution of your choice. It really is important. I know I say this all the time, but we've got thousands of people listening to these shows, Bishop, and I know you spend a lot of time doing the research. You and I spend time preparing. It's a very difficult job to keep these shows going each week, particularly with the attacks that are coming at us. Yes. You were poisoned, Bishop, way back, people coming at you all the time. I heard this story about, it's developing, this story about the guy who was shot on the street in Portland. Apparently he was a well-known kind of like local activist, Trump supporter. Yeah. And it caused me to think, there's a lot of people who like to, I guess they think they're jokers or whatever. They post stuff on the internet disparaging me, disparaging you. You and I are pretty visible figures. We go out on the street in New York City. This notion that Antifa or whoever wants to have these sort of, scalps, little notches in their belts. It's got me thinking that we are targets by doing this kind of thing. And it's it's something to consider.
It's crazy. We are targets because, Jason, light is the best disinfectant. But people who have been in darkness for so long that they would rather live a lie than to accept the light, so so it's our responsibility. And I thank God for you, Jason. You and I, out of all the hosts I've been a part of as a guest, and I'm on radio shows and podcasts every week from all over the world, at least 2 or 3 times per week. But you are by and far the number one host because you and I flow so well together, and we feed off of each other. There's a banter between us, and not only am I teaching you, but you are powerfully teaching me. And as a sign up for your listeners, just type in LVX sign, and you'll find that this crossbone Wakanda symbol that we call Osiris risen of the pentagram. Many of mummies going back thousands of years in Egyptian history are buried like this, which also means the connection of that corpse or corporation to the underworld. Why would Chadwick Boseman continue to do that? Because he was a part of both the Thelema Secret Society, okay, and the Theosophical Secret Society with the Lester Crowley, okay? That's under LVX signs, right? It's on the far right-hand corner, Osiris risen, the pentagram. So
Wow.
both Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman became Osiris, third eye, and a live pentagram in a body. You see, when you get yourself involved in the dark arts and you sell your soul, Jason, just like the 1977 song, Hotel California by the Eagles, you can check out at any time, but you can never leave. And that's what happened to Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman during this volume of Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed. Mind-blowing information today, my friend.
Yeah, excellent show today, Bishop. And I want to thank all the viewers that sponsor you and me here on Crowdsource the Truth, making this show possible. I'll be back later tonight. We're going to have another episode of More Pain with True Pundits Mike Moore. People can see that on subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. Bishop, somebody's sawing down the hallway, so we'll end it here, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you next week, Jason. All right, God bless you, sir.
Take care. Thanks.